What's good, everybody? I'm your host, Juice, and this is Cognac Conversations, where the guests are organic, the dialogue is authentic, and the drinks are simply my favorite. This has been a long-awaited episode. I got a guest with me that I've talked about this thing, and I've talked to her about it, and now I'm honored to have her on the show. I got Miss Daria Davis on here, aka the Trap Therapist.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, so we're gonna trap it out a little bit and talk about this therapy. So I just want to tell you, welcome to the show. And I want to say, mental health is something that's big for me. A lot of people get to see me on the joking, the goofy side, but today I want to get serious a little bit. But we're gonna have fun. We're still gonna have fun. We're gonna, I know your personality, and so it meshes well with mine and who I am. So we're gonna get right into it. So Darius, just starting off, tell people about you, who you are, how they can follow you, how they can find you, how they can get some help from you.
All right. So, everybody, my name is Daria Davis. I'm a therapist 3 times here in Dallas, Texas. If you are needing therapy, please look me up at Renewed Vision Behavioral Health Services.com. So, how I got started, honestly, I always knew in the back of my mind this is something I needed to do. So undergrad, I went to school for psychology.
Okay.
But then going through undergrad, I was like, I ain't doing no therapy. Like, I'll do anything but therapy, right? I ain't want to carry nobody problems with me.
Right.
So then fast forward, I get into the corporate world. It wasn't fulfilling.
Right.
Fast forward, well, I'm still in that corporate world. 2020 hit. The world shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Me being a social butterfly that I am, I started to develop my own mental issues.
All right. I just want to pause for a second. Personally, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that the 1% and the super elite were sitting down and said, let's shut the world down. When you take people that are used to going, and you make them sit in the house, people realize that the people that they live with, they didn't like. Mm-hmm. Because they barely got to see their ass before the world shut down. Mm-hmm. So, and then the second thing that I want to say, I'm gonna let you get back into your story, is it's funny, right? And when I say it's funny, I'm gonna say he's funny. God.
Yeah.
I ain't doing no therapy in undergrad. He got a way of pulling you back into your purpose.
Okay.
So, I just want to say those 2 things, but go ahead. Let's talk through it.
So COVID hit, I'm in the house. I became depressed. I became anxious. So I took off 6 months to go to PHP, which is partial hospitalization, and IOP, which is intensive outpatient. So I'm going to group therapy Monday through Friday.
Okay.
In addition to that, I started protesting. Okay. So that also added to it. Going out in these Dallas streets, protesting, saying that there's people that need help just like me. Then on top of that, going through PHP and IOP.
Right.
We don't have a representation in those spaces. Yeah. I'm seeing a white therapist. I'm Black. The culture ain't there.
Right.
So that led me to become a teacher. That was my next career path. Okay. And being in that career path led me to see that these kids need more than a teacher. They need a therapist. They need a case manager. They need a social worker. They need somebody more than what I can provide in this space. So at that point, that's when I decided, let me go back to school, right?
Right.
But being a teacher is a full-time plus a full-time job. So I didn't have the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
Had the conversation with my assistant principal. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm making a difference. She said, if you want to make a difference, you're not going to make it here. That's what I needed to hear to get the gears going. So I ended up quitting. I went back into the corporate world with a plan, though.
Right.
As soon as I went back in the corporate world, we going back into grad school, we getting this degree, we getting this license, and then, I kid you not, graduated in December 2023, got licensed officially in February, got laid off from corporate job in February. Had 2 months.
God funny.
Had 2 months left at that position. Kid you not, I left that job and I had these 3 therapy positions lined up. So yeah. I've been in it. It was a smooth transition. I don't regret it.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is you got to trust them. I don't know if you, I'm a social media junkie, so I don't know if you've seen a social media post where God took the bear from it's a picture, and God took the bear from the little girl, and she's like, but God, I like it. Mm-hmm. And he said, trust me. And he had a bigger bear behind his back. So, that's one of those things. So I'm glad to hear that all worked out for you, because it was supposed to work out for you. Mm-hmm. I do want to touch on the teaching part, right? Like, shout out to all my teachers out there. I got a teacher, homeboy, that I talk to every day, and he's told me, like, he's called me and he's, expressed that how he feels, that the kids need more than somebody just teaching them what's in the classroom. So, you know, because he's had those experiences and he shared them with me. So I sympathize for my teachers out there, and I just want to tell y'all, enjoy this last month of summer. Do whatever you got to do to get your mental right, because those babies do need you, right? And we appreciate y'all. I know sometimes your pay don't always reflect that, but as a parent, I appreciate you, because I mean, my kid's bad as hell. But if they get too bad, just call me. You know, Daddy gonna handle that. But no, so yeah, that's what's up. I'm glad the fact that because I'm glad that you didn't ignore God. A lot of people will. Yeah. And they'll push their purpose off for what they like doing, what they're comfortable doing.
And that money.
Yeah, and that money, right? And you're in the corporate world, you make good money. So I'm glad that you didn't ignore your purpose. I had a homeboy a few years ago said that, he's working in corporate America, but he's a playwright. And he said that God came to him and said that if you don't walk in your purpose, other people will suffer. So I kind of feel like, now that you walked in your purpose, you're going to be able to help those people and they won't suffer. So, clap for you. We're clapping for you right now.
Thank you. Yeah. And even walking in it, it's only been a couple months fully. I had those moments where I doubt myself and I'm like, shit, do I know what I'm doing? Yeah. But then it'll be one little thing that a client says that lets me know I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
That's that reassurance, right? Like that's that reassurance from God. So I ain't trying to get all churchy on you, but my father is my father and I believe in him. So one of the things that I do want to touch on today, because I've had my own personal struggles before, is I want to talk about the importance of getting mental health, especially in minorities, right? We self-diagnose ourselves. I'm a Google done made me a doctor, y'all. Just so y'all know, I'm gonna print off my certificate and post it on the page tomorrow. But I can diagnose myself with all kinds of shit, health issues, mental health issues. I'm gonna share a story with you in a second. It's probably gonna make you laugh. I laugh about it now, but let's talk about that, right? Okay. Like, in your opinion, and you've been in this field, from undergrad to now. How do you feel mental health? How important is it with minorities and us going to get help? Because that's hard, right?
For one, I feel like every single minority needs help. Even if you feel like, oh no, I got it together, go seek that therapy. We all need it. It doesn't mean that you're in crisis mode or that the world is on fire. You just need that outlet. Being in these spaces, most of these spaces are predominantly white spaces. We don't have those outlets, so we turn to unhealthy things to try to get those outlets. So it could be drinking, it could be smoking weed, it could be blowing money fast, it could be, having sex with about 10 different people in one night, this reckless behavior just to try to cope with what's going on. Then another thing, growing up as a Black woman, you taught in Black households, suck it up. It ain't that deep. Other people got it worse than you. So you're taught these negative coping skills to try to deal with this. Right. So we get in adulthood, and to be quite frank, we fucked up. Yeah. We are fucked up as humans. Yeah. And sometimes we get it on our own, but other times it don't hit until it's too late. So it's like, why wait till it's too late? Let's jump on a bandwagon now. If you know there's certain things about yourself. So for me, it was, okay, I'm just irritable all the time. Right. That ain't like me. Right. Something ain't right.
Right. Right.
For you, it could be, okay, you know what? I'm drinking a little bit more than I normally do.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we kind of behind as minorities on the trend of getting help with mental health. So we don't have a support system. Right. So as we're getting more and more clinicians that look like us in the field, now's the time.
Okay, so I want to touch on all of that because I feel like you described a lot of me. You talking about spending money and drinking and, smoking that lettuce a little bit. I feel like you was talking about me. So, but I do want to touch on something. You said, more therapists getting in the field that look like us. So I want to share something with you. I knew a few years ago that I needed help, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't know how to get help. So it lived in my mind for the longest. And then finally, I had a cousin. I call her my cousin. She's down in Houston right now. She's a therapist. And she called me every day to tell me, like, yeah, let's get you some help. And so what she ended up doing was she helped me get help for my daughter. Once I got help for my daughter and I seen her behaviors change, I'm like, oh, okay. My money ain't going to waste, you know? Of course, insurance is doing that thing too, but
Yeah.
like my money not going to waste, you know? If you made her take the step or you helped her take a step, take it for yourself.
Yeah.
So finally, I filled out all my paperwork, got my first session scheduled. I walked in and I sat on my therapist's couch. And I've said for years I would never go to therapy because going to therapy would put me in a space where as I open up, I'm going to want to do something to my therapist, right? Like, if he get me to open up, like all these going to just rush out and it's going to cause all these emotions.
Okay.
So, but what I was doing was I was making an excuse. And so when I finally manned up and decided that excuse ain't worth it anymore, what I did was I went and sat on his couch. And when I went and sat on his couch, I opened up. I was very transparent. It was an hour session. And y'all, let me tell y'all something. I felt good leaving there. I felt like I conquered something. Like I walked out his office feeling like I could touch the sky. And he told me when I left, like, you know, you're going to set up your next session. I never heard from my therapist again. I called, I emailed, I sent for help, smoke signals, and I never heard from him again. Hey, y'all, that took me back. It made me not trust. It made me become sheltered. But I gotta say today, I scared the hell out that man. And I laugh about it because I don't really think that I scared him, but you know, I don't know what happened to him. To this day, like I know where his office is, but it's in a building, so I don't know if he there or not. Like I ain't stalking the man or nothing like that. But you know, I would like the closure. It's crazy because you know people always want closure.
Yeah.
But I'm back to the point where I can trust therapy again, right? Like I can trust therapy again. I'm ready to do the work again. I'm ready to start my journey again. I didn't let that moment hinder me. That's when I knew that I grew up. I knew that I was grown at that point because I allowed a situation that, you know, for some, it would just completely scare you. I allowed that situation to not scare me, and I'm ready to get back active. So the work is on me to be done to find a therapist, but, you know, I post on my social media platforms all the time, like, how'd you find your therapist? Because that's big, because some people don't know how to find that therapist, right?
Sure.
Like, so, you know, you pub your business, you pub your, like, keep pubbing it. When we post this, we're gonna put it in the links, right? I hope 100 people come follow you. I hope you like, hey man, you got me busy as hell. That's what I want.
So I do want to chime in on what you just said though. From an ethical professional standpoint, you know, that's not ethical, that's not professional.
Yeah, that's what my cousin told me.
I'm gonna give him grace though, because we are therapists.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're human.
Yeah.
Then you brought up a really good point of that kind of like hurt that deters you, and a lot of people do that mistrust. And even not being able to find a therapist. I'm telling y'all, I would get on Google Black therapists near me, and I would go through and read things, and I would try to go, you know, it's trial and error when you're finding a therapist, unfortunately. So you might go to one session and it's okay if it's not for you, and you go back to the drawing board and you're gonna keep trying it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You got to find the person that fits your needs.
Yep. And that's what my cousin, I call her my country cousin. That's what she told me, right? She also told me it's okay to have multiple therapists at once. How do you feel about that?
You mean like unofficial multiple therapists, or you got multiple therapists that you're paying for?
Like multiple that I'm paying for, right? Like I'm going to see you, but then I may go see this therapist for something else, like a different, like how do you feel about that?
That's an interesting perspective. I honestly never thought about that. So for me personally, I tell people, have a therapist, and if you ain't nothing wrong with medication. If you need a medication, have a psychiatrist.
Right.
Now, where I would encourage having multiple therapists is, let's say you want to go to family counseling. You might want to have somebody different for that. Or if you're going to marriage counseling, you might want to have somebody different for that. So that I can see.
Okay.
You're going to have to let me know how that goes, having multiple therapists, though.
I don't know that I could be that open right now. Yeah, like, I only got so many tears in me, so I don't know that I could be that open. So, but, you know, that's something that she told me, something that I just always kept in my mind. And I trust her wholeheartedly, right? So I don't think she would give me any ill information, but because she has guided me, she has helped me. she is the reason you're here today because when I was doing my practice sessions with my homeboy, he behind the camera right there, y'all can't see him, but I let her hear it. I would let her hear when I was open and vulnerable, and she texts me back like, I'm crying, cousin. I'm like, girl, stop being soft. And she was like, nah, because I know where you were 4 years ago. You wouldn't have never had this conversation. I wouldn't have told my mama this 4 years ago, y'all. And that's probably the person that I'm closest to. But, you know, I just want to say, man, get help, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, if it's a stranger, right? Whatever, because you don't want to survive something or try to survive something that's in your head that you can't express, or you feel like you can't express. So get help. Like she said, on Google, y'all got y'all damn phones all day anyway. So hop on Google and you know, Black therapists, white therapists, Hispanic therapists, whatever you need, go get it. That's my advertisement for y'all. So I want to keep going through this thing, and I want to talk. So let's talk about you, and let's talk about, you know, your journey and some of the principles that you live by. So, you know, first I want to start with, you know, when you filled out the form, you said it's me versus me. What does that mean for you?
So that developed when I moved here, right? So y'all know down here in Texas, everybody got road rage, everybody racing on the highway, but we going different places. So it's like, why am I racing you and we going 2 different places? So when you internalize that, why are we comparing ourselves to other people?
Mm-hmm.
We got 2 different paths.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, I want to compare myself to the old me to make sure I'm still growing and progressing in the ways I should be.
Yeah.
So now I look at it like, I'm not going to compare myself. I don't care how great that person presents because I don't know what's really going on in the background.
Right.
So I'm going to compare myself to myself. Old me would have been, you know, ready to shoot some shit up. New me is calm, collected. So it's just like noticing my own growth and keep building on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So I do want to tell you that the name of this show is Cognac Conversations, and we got a drink for you. So I know we're talking about mental health, everybody, but, you know, we are having a beverage, but not to the point where it's having us cope with anything.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that, though, right? Like, how do you feel about, you know, talking about mental health, but then, you know, having a drink? Is that something that we shouldn't do? Or, you know, like, talk through that for me.
So again, I'm a human. So I'm gonna admit on a stressful, long day, I might have a little wine, and that's okay. You have to notice though when it becomes out of hand. You know yourself more than anybody. So I had a moment. I give you a personal story. We were just talking about that opening at the soft launch at the Nines. I had just got laid off from my corporate job. That depression started sinking in, but I was trying to suppress it. I was ignoring it. I went to that event and I drank my ass off and I showed my ass. And I got so toe up and I knew that wasn't like me. When I woke up the next day, I, you know, apologized to the people I was with and I admitted I was going through something and that was my way of coping in that moment. So you know when it's, you got that feeling when it's too much.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, for me, you talked about, you know, when the world shut down.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that happened when the world shut down, me and my homeboys started drinking. We were drinking so much, y'all, we was on Zoom drinking. Right? We was having Zoom turn up. If you from my job watching this, the next part I'm about to say is a lie, if you from my job. But I took my team and I had a Zoom Christmas party after work one night. Yeah, we worked second shift. I had to call my employees and wake them up for work the next day. That's how turned up the Zoom Christmas party got. Brittany, if you're watching this, nobody know your last name, so I don't know I'm talking about you. One of my staff members, she got so toe up. She had a unicorn stuffed teddy bear. I had my head down. I looked up on the Zoom. She was fighting a unicorn, and the unicorn was winning. It was on top of her. She fell off the bed, and and I'm like, yeah, we partying too much on Zoom, right? But it's because people weren't socializing. They weren't being out. They weren't being open. So that was a coping mechanism, and you know, from that I had to do cleanses. Like I never did alcohol cleanses in my life until I got to Dallas, Texas. I don't know what this city brings with liquor and drinks, but Dallas, Texas will make you do it. So another thing I want to talk to you about, I know we've talked about God and things like that, but you got a tattoo.
Romans 8:28?
Yeah, Romans 8:28. Tell the people what that is.
Okay, I'm gonna give y'all my version. Don't judge me because I'm not a scripture girly. I can't memorize it, but
if this was church, the pastor would say right now, if you have your Bibles,
Okay,
open
look,
them.
I got my Bible right here on my phone.
If you have your Bibles, open them. So,
Okay, Romans 8:28. We know that all things work for the good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose.
and we talked about your purpose earlier. So, why Tatted? What does that mean to you?
So it keeps me grounded. It keeps me rooted. In those days where I don't know, y'all, it's getting a little iffy and I feel like I'm about to start spiraling. And that reminds me, looking at this reminds me, I probably ain't prayed today. And I have some days where I gotta pray every 30 seconds, and I got some days where I feel like I ain't gotta pray that much. And then something hits me and I start like overreacting and start spiraling, and I say a little prayer real quick.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm covered at all times. I know all I got to do is stop and pray, and he going to work it out.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's my reminder, too, to slow down.
Yep. Be still. Be steadfast. Yep. Yep. So I agree with that. Romans 8:28. I'm going to add that to my list of favorite scriptures. So I appreciate you for that. My mama going to be proud of this. She sent me a scripture every day to read. And if I don't answer it fast enough, I'm getting a phone call. So if I don't reply and say, I love you, mama. But I love you, girl, in real life. But, let's talk about one of your other principles is, and this, when I read this, when I wrote this, I've said this, you spot on for this. Like, let's touch it.
Yeah.
Doing your best looks different every day. In my 20s, I thought I had to be perfect, y'all, every day. And then when I got about 28, 29, I started fucking up every day. I'm like, hey, bro, I had a homeboy who was just like a drunk and had 26 jobs from the time he was 22 to 26. And I had one job for the last 16 years, 16-year anniversary last Friday.
Oh, congrats.
But I'm like, today we're in the same spot.
Yeah.
But that's because they were living and I was trying to be perfect. So what is, talk about that principle, what that does for you.
So for me, the reason that came into play is same thing, trying to be perfect, trying to do everything. And you get burnt out.
Yeah.
You get burnt out.
That's real work. That's real work.
I had to realize that one day doing my best might mean checking 2 things off my to-do list, and that's okay. Doing my best the next day might be I do 40 things. Doing my best mean I got out the bed and took a shower and brushed my teeth today. Every day is gonna look different, and I have to be okay with it.
Yeah. I said this before on the show, but I gotta give him his credit every time because he gonna tell me every day. Shout out to my brother T. Rogers. He say 1% better every day. Like he preaches that, he lives by that. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the things that he said to me, and I like that. I think that is really big because some people may think that they got to conquer this whole laundry list of things, and it's not that. Life is a journey every single day. So I appreciate that. And one of your other principles is there's a purpose for everything. I truthfully believe that nothing's done by chance, nothing. Right? We're not here in this moment by chance, and I'm appreciative for that chance because it helps you, right?
Yeah.
You talk about losses. I don't look at losses. I'm still counting them as L's, but they call lessons today.
Yeah.
So I do agree that it's a purpose with everything. And you talked about perfection and imperfection, right? And I think that if I was a designer, if I could design things, I would have a shirt that said imperfection with a line and the imperfection on the bottom because I think that this means more. So what does nobody's perfect mean to you?
One, I think it's impossible for any person on this earth to be perfect. The only perfect person is God. So we got to remember that. And that kind of humbles you to give yourself grace, give other people grace because, nothing's going to be perfect. And tying it back into my other principle, it's a purpose for everything. It's a purpose for, I look at every little thing now, like, okay, this person cut me off on the road. Normally that'll make me mad, but what's the purpose? Okay, I might have gotten in an accident had this person not cut me off, or something might have happened to me. It's slowing me down for a reason. Like you said, it's a lesson in everything. It's an opportunity in everything. And we just have to take the time out to sit back and reflect on what that is. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
Right.
In the moment, though, it comes to you real quick.
Okay. So one thing that I want to touch on is we talked about mental health and minorities, but what about the misconception of mental health, right? Like, let's put that out there because, and I'm gonna tell y'all, before I became an advocate for mental health, I laughed at it, right? That wasn't real. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and I'm gonna be transparent. And my European brothers and sisters, y'all gotta forgive me, but I used to be like, therapy, that's white folks shit. I'm gonna tell y'all that, right? Like, I grew up in the ghetto. Like, therapy wasn't something that was advocated for. I'll be honest with you. When we seen kids going to therapy, we called them slow. But that's because I didn't understand mental health. So from your point of view, being a therapist, being somebody that's taking this journey, what does the misconception of mental health look like? And how do we change that narrative?
Growing up in St. Louis, child, I used to get them crackheads. Automatically, people label them as crazy. When you go to therapy, you're labeled as crazy. Now, being the person I am, I don't like that word crazy because of the stigma that's attached to it. So we get this, this person crazy, or they go to therapy, something really wrong with them. They take medication, something really wrong with them. And we jump to the end of the spectrum where we thinking somebody got bipolar, schizophrenia, and they really could just have anxiety and depression. And if we're being quite honest, all of us got that, whether or not we choose to acknowledge it. So we get scared of going to therapy, seeking help, taking medications because we have that fear of we're gonna be labeled by the people around us as crazy. They're gonna start judging us.
Yep. Nah, that's real. And I'm sitting here kind of in a daze, but I'm thinking about the conversations that I've had with my friends. It went from, as we were in our 20s and we were younger, we were talking about partying, we were talking about the girls and clothes and fashion, and we want to be rich, right? Everybody want to be rich. Y'all, in my group messages now, we talk about, hey, we all need therapy. We all need help. All the traumas that we seen, right? I didn't trust therapy because I was growing up in trauma and I didn't even realize it. So that was big for me, man. Like I don't even know where to start when I talk about like how lost I was and didn't even know it. I was functioning in my mess because that's how I knew how to function.
That's
right. Like I was functioning in my mess. And one thing that I want to touch on before we get out of here, because I want your opinion, I wanted the people to hear is how important is it to address the root of all traumas? Like not just the trauma, the traumatic situation, but getting down to the root. I believe that we are who we are because a lot of things that happened when we were children.
Yes, Lord.
So I do want to touch on that. I want to hear your point of view. Like I said, before we get out of here, I just, give us something.
First, before I address that, I'm right there with you. Growing up in chaos, you normalize it. So it's hard to break that cycle. And you looking at other people that is not functioning and they're like, what's wrong with y'all?
Right.
When it's really us.
Right.
And it kind of ties into the trauma. I wholeheartedly agree. Most trauma that we have comes from childhood. And unfortunately, as a child, you didn't ask for that. You grow up in the environment you grow up and that becomes your norm. That's your standard.
Yeah.
You don't realize that shit fucked up until you go through other situations. You start growing up. So most of us, we being honest, it's adulthood. And it could be 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, however long it takes. So once you realize it, then you got to take the steps. And that's where people get stuck. They're like, okay, I know this affects me from my childhood, but I don't know what to do next. So then that's when you got to start seeking help. And when you seek help, a good therapist is going to tell you the steps you need to do. They're going to tell you need to unlearn those poor behaviors you learned growing up. You need to build stable, secure relationships so that you're able to see, this is how I'm supposed to function? This is a secure attachment?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Hey, I'm smiling because, like I said, I was texting my business partner, one of my best friends this morning, and I was like, bro, I'm trying to break generational curses. And I'm not talking about financial generational curses. Now, I'm trying to break through some of this therapy stuff, right? Some of that trauma, some of that stuff that my parents didn't even realize was trauma, and they grew up in trauma. My grandparents didn't realize was trauma, and they grew up in trauma. So that is big for me. Probably the biggest thing, to the point where, I self-reflect a lot. I talk with my friends. I try to be open-minded, and that's something that I wasn't willing to do years ago. I felt like that long as I went and bagged into a corner, I could always come out strong. That ain't true. I don't want to bag in that corner by myself no more. I don't. Like, I need somebody to talk to. Y'all can't see him, but I'm gonna point at him. Like I said, he get to hear every single day. You know, every single day, he gets to talk to me. I got a story to share about. I bought a camera for Cognac Conversations, and it was an impulse buy. And when I got the camera, it wasn't what I expected. Like, I was so disappointed that I just spent $1,000 on something that wasn't what I needed. So I didn't complain about it. I did a little bit because I told him to pull up to my crib. I was like, hey, bro, I just need somebody to talk through with it. You know what I mean? So he pulled up to my house, and I said, I ain't gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna sit it right here on this entertainment center, and I'm gonna look at it every day, and I'm gonna go get what I need, right? Because what I should have did was reached out to him and said, hey, bro, is this what we need? But I didn't. It was an impulse buy because I was ready to do it. And I'm like, you just wasted $1,000. So we ended up getting all the equipment that we needed. To this day, that camera's still sitting on top of my entertainment center. I look at it every single day, because it reminds me to slow down, not be impulsive, and get what you need and not what you want. So that is big for me.
And that story just made me think about something I talked about in one of my group therapy sessions last weekend, is that we get caught up in not wanting to be judged so bad that we keep all this stuff to ourselves, not realizing your best friend probably going through the same stuff.
Through it.
And it's just like, even with that camera situation, you probably didn't want to call him because he been like, man, now come on. You had that feel like, now you knew you weren't supposed to buy that. Like, you should have just called me first. Yeah. And so that you keep that to yourself, and you start to feel these feelings that you shouldn't be feeling about yourself, instead of just owning up, like, hey, we human. We gonna fuck up.
I'm so passionate about this thing, y'all, that I had to tell him, like, hey, bro, like I said, but this motivated me, right? Like, he probably seen me moping the first 30 minutes here at my house, and after that, I was like, yeah, this motivated me. This getting me where I need to be. And that's exactly what I allowed it to do. I allowed it to get me where I needed to be. So I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that. I'll say to my friends, to my family, to anybody listening to this, watching this, get help, right? It's okay to get help. We need help. Find a therapist. She don't know, but I'm about to start sending people her way.
All right,
so y'all hit me up, and we're gonna do this thing. We're going to make sure that we do our part to get mental health out there, to advocate for it, to advertise it, and let's just heal.
Yeah.
If I had the title of this, it's gonna be Let's Just Heal. Thank y'all for watching Cognac Conversations today. Here you go.